In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I helped somebody called Mariana go from her current role as a recruiter into the role of a cybersecurity analyst without any experience. It's a 5-step pathway that I've used to help over 10 people in the last year get into cybersecurity without any experience, and something that you can do as well. Hi, my name's AJ. I've been in cybersecurity for the last 10 years. On this channel, I teach all things cybersecurity for beginners, so let's get into it. Mariana, and she landed a job within 4 months without any previous experience, and it actually all started in May when she joined a free career strategy call that we offer. So if you're looking for one of those free career strategy calls, you can apply below. And what she did on that call was build a plan, and we helped her build a plan towards her first job. And then she actually joined our apprenticeship on May 21st, 2025. And then, as you can see, she messaged me on September 18th to actually say that she wasn't feeling confident for another interview, but she actually found a trainee position for a cybersecurity SOC analyst. She applied, passed the interviews, and they were interested in moving forward with her. As you can see, she was in shock because she didn't expect to find something so fast, and she actually thought because it's a trainee position that the salary would be quite low, but it's actually more than what she's earning right now in, as you can see here, talent acquisition, and she was currently working as a recruiter. So it's amazing. She said she still can't believe it. It was great to work with Mariana. She was somebody who was dedicated. She knew exactly what she wanted, and it was fantastic to actually see her transition into the role of a cybersecurity analyst. And this was without any previous experience. Like you can see here, she was working in talent acquisition. She wasn't working in tech. She was a recruiter. And within 4 months of working with myself and the other team at Empirical Training, she landed a job without any experience. What I'm going to show you now is exactly how she did it. So this is the exact pathway that we took her down. So first of all, then she was able to build a foundation in computer networking with the CompTIA Network Plus. And what we also recommended then was the labs. So what this does is help you build those practical networking skills. It also helps you build the theory, which is hugely important because in cybersecurity, it's all about protecting networks. So you need to understand networks. Then it was on to CompTIA Security Plus. Again, we also recommend the labs here as well to build those fundamentals in cybersecurity and also to actually get those practical skills as well. So that's building the foundation in networking, building the foundation in cybersecurity. This is often where a lot of people get lost, and it was similar with Mariana. She wasn't sure exactly which role she wanted to go for. That's why we recommended then the role of a cybersecurity analyst, because it is usually the easier role to get into. It's not that easy, still a lot of things that you need to learn, like I'll talk through shortly, but ultimately the role of a cybersecurity analyst or these more blue team style roles are usually easier to get into as people who are not experienced. So like myself, 10 years ago, I started as a cybersecurity analyst as well, and so did the other 3 mentors that I work with in the apprenticeship that we created. So when you get to this part, this is where you pick one job role and then forget about anything else. So you need to focus the skills related to the particular job. So first of all is SIEM, and that stands for Security Information Event Management Tool. And this is a tool that all cybersecurity analysts are using. So this is an example here. If you imagine a network, on that network, you have devices like servers, laptops, firewalls, etc. They will send logs to a SIEM. Now, Microsoft Sentinel is a hugely popular cloud-based SIEM that companies are looking for experience with. So that's one that we do recommend and the one that we actually teach in our apprenticeship. In Microsoft Sentinel, there will be, and every SIEM, there is a set of rules, often called correlation rules, often called detection rules. What they're doing is looking for malicious activity in the logs of the devices that are sent to the SIEM. What will happen then, these rules will generate alerts to you as the analyst to review, and it's up to you then to either escalate it as a possible cyber attack and work it as an incident, or close it out as a false positive, which just means that the rule is fired incorrectly, and then try to improve that rule. So this is a tool that all cybersecurity analysts need to get to grips with, and it's definitely a tool you should start to look into. So next step then is actually AI and automation. So everybody is talking about AI, but it is affecting cybersecurity, but doesn't mean that it's going to take all of the jobs. What I'm actually seeing is that AI is going to be used by cybersecurity professionals to be a lot more efficient. So you need to start to understand how that is. So as you can see here then, AI is coming for cybersecurity, but in a security operations center, I'm seeing that the SOC manager is feeding into an AI team lead, and this team lead then will have human analysts and human engineers to manage, but they will also manage these AI agents as well, who will be there to take some of these level 1 and level 2 decisions. The human analyst, like yourself, like myself, will still be needed. I think will always be needed. But what these human analysts are going to have access to are certain AI agents to help them do threat hunting, to help them analyze emails, to help them perform threat intelligence, for example. And it's going to be the same for engineers as well, where these detection engineers will have agents to help them with detection engineering, to do SIEM health checks, for example. What I'm seeing is that the combination of AI and automation is just being joined in with the world of cybersecurity. And we've always had automation in cybersecurity, but now we're having these AI agents. And as you can see here, these AI agents are going to be more like junior analysts who will be able to actually read and act across different scenarios, where automation was previously kind of like automation step by step, more of a robotic process. What we're going to see now is more of like a junior style analyst being able to make some of these decisions. And don't think that this is going to take away all of the junior jobs. It might take away some of them, but ultimately what's going to help you stand out is by being able to, for example, build these AI agents, or at least being able to actually use them, for example. And if we go back to the SIEM example, we can plug in a tool called Tines, which is a workflow automation tool that you can integrate with a lot of these AI-based tools. And if you remember from our example that you have the device logs, they generate alerts which are sent to the analyst to review. Now these tools like Tines will be actually being able to handle some of these alerts, also being able to escalate some of these alerts as well, and also make decisions on how to improve the rules. So what we're seeing is that these AI and automation tools are just being built on top of tools like the SIEM, just to increase efficiency in terms of automation. And these AI-based tools are effectively, that's what they're there to do, is just to make security operations centers more efficient. So that's something I definitely recommend you go and learn as well. Next up then is incident response. So once you escalate, as you can see here, to an active incident, you'll want to understand the SANS incident response plan, because effectively what this is a step-by-step plan on how to actually respond to an incident. So as you can see here, this details how to prepare from an incident all the way to actually containing it, to learning lessons from that incident. And ultimately, you want to start to understand this process because it's going to help you understand how to respond to specific cybersecurity incidents. Now, these are just the individual steps, but within each of these steps are actually the actions that you will need to take at each step in terms of actually identifying an incident, how to contain it, all the way to recovering, and like I said, learning lessons from that particular incident. So next up then is learning cloud attack and defense. So you need to understand how cloud networks work, but you also need to understand how attackers are attacking the cloud and how to actually defend against it. Now, a great resource for that is something like the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And this was something that we taught Mariana in our apprenticeship. And what this does, it's got this breakdown here in cloud. And what this is doing is detailing the steps that an attacker will take when they're trying to compromise a cloud platform. And then within that step then is a particular technique which will allow the attacker to actually achieve that step. So if we're thinking about persistence, how the attacker is actually able to stay inside of a cloud platform without being detected, then each one of these techniques is something that you'd want to look into. So you can click into each of these techniques. It's going to explain exactly what that technique is. It's going to give you a real world example, but it's also going to talk about the mitigation and detection strategies. And these are the things that companies are looking for from you these days. So next up, you want to start to understand attack types and defense techniques. So your phishing campaigns, your malware campaigns, for example, network-based attacks, or the more host-based attacks. And again, we can use the MITRE ATT&CK framework to help us learn this as well. So as you can see here, this is broken down into the different operating systems and technologies. So you can go into Windows, and again, steps that an attacker will take when they're trying to compromise a Windows machine. And then within that step are the techniques that an attacker will use to actually achieve and be successful at that step. Come in here, start to learn some of these. You're not expected to know every single one of these, because what you're trying to do here is just kind of paint a picture and think like an attacker, because if you are able to start thinking like an attacker, it's going to make you a much better defender. And these are the kind of things, like I said, is what companies are looking for from these days. For example, in interviews, you might be asked, name a Windows persistence technique on a Windows machine and how you would detect it. Well, this is going to help you be able to answer questions like that. So next up then, detection rules. So I mentioned a SIEM, they have correlation rules or detection rules. You want to start to understand how these rules and these queries are actually triggering on the malicious activity on the in the logs that are sent over to the SIEM itself. Now, a great resource that you can look at here. So Elastic, so I mentioned Microsoft Sentinel is one SIEM technology. Well, Elastic have their own SIEM as well. But you can come into this resource here. So all I've done is just Google Elastic SIEM rules, go to the pre-built rule reference, and you can come in here and start to look into some of these rules. So an example here, then, a scheduled task was created. This is just going to give you exactly what this rule is looking for. So it indicates the creation of a scheduled task using the Windows event log. So like I said, the Windows event logs are sent to the SIEM, and then it's looking for a log which says that a scheduled task has been created, because as it says here, attackers or adversaries can use this for persistence, to move laterally, or to escalate privileges. So this is these are really good guides on in each particular rule that is pre-built. So it gives you a good idea of exactly how to actually analyze it, how to triage it. And this is what companies are looking for from cybersecurity professionals. They want you to be able to be put in these different scenarios, to be able to respond to these alerts and then escalate them as possible attacks and incidents if that is what is needed. Because ultimately, it's all well and good going to university, even doing Computational Security Plus, but if you don't know how to do these things and actually investigate and respond to threats, then you're not going to be somebody that stands out. And these are the kind of things that we teach in our apprenticeship. As you can see here, it talks all of things about false positive analysis, even the response and the remediation. And this is hugely important as well. Start to understand query language, whether that's in Splunk, Elastic SIEM, or Microsoft Sentinel. Everything is all about querying logs in cybersecurity, and especially in security operations centers. And this is exactly the way that you would be querying it. And this would be the detection rule then. So you would add this as a detection rule in the SIEM. So different SIEMs have different query languages, but ultimately they're all trying to do the same thing, which is pretty much just pattern match on the log that is pushed into the SIEM, and this is then will generate an alert to you to review. And like I said before, either escalate it as a possible attack, or if it's fired incorrectly, you would be looking to try and improve this rule. So then you want to start to look into threat intelligence. So threat intelligence is using open source information to understand the latest attacker techniques. So each business, whichever business sector they're in, they'll want to understand what attackers are trying to do against that business sector. So let's say, for example, if you work in the finance sector, you want to understand what threat actors are targeting the finance sector and what type of tactics, techniques, and procedures they're actually trying to use against that company. And this is what's actually going to let you build new detection rules, for example, so you can look for that specific intelligence. And this is also going to allow you to do threat hunting, which is kind of your more active searching for threats, where you could see a SIEM and detection rules as maybe your more passive detection, where threat hunting is actively using threat intelligence, building your own queries like I showed you to search across the logs using the latest intelligence to start to try and figure out if there's an attacker actively in the network. And if you do find something from threat intelligence and threat hunting, then it could mean that there is an active and serious threat in the network that needs to be escalated using the SANS instant response process to actually make sure that we mitigate this. So you can start to see how a lot of these join together, where SIEM is often kind of the building block with the detection rules. You use threat intelligence then to improve the detection rules inside the SIEM. You do threat hunting with the detection rules and the threat intelligence that you've gathered. And you use the instant response plan to figure out if there's anything that has been detected, and so that you can actually respond to that incident and actually close it out and actually mitigate it and prevent a possible breach from happening. So you can see how each one of these actually filter in together. So then there's also analysis tooling then, so SIEM being the major one, but a lot of this you will also learn on Computational Security Plus. So it's your things such as your firewalls, your network intrusion detection systems, your endpoint protection systems, for example, all of the tools that a cybersecurity analyst will use to actually detect malicious activity and protect a network. These are the kind of things that you're going to want to use. Then we mentioned customer service here. This isn't often spoken about that much, but the best companies to go for, and where I personally started, are for managed security service companies. And these managed security service companies do security on behalf of other companies. So it does mean that you're usually dealing with customers, which sometimes can be annoying, but you will actually see that cybersecurity roles are actually more customer focused than you think, whether you're doing that internally, you've got other employees who are your customers, or you're actually working for a company that actually has external customers, you likely will be dealing with some type of customer in cybersecurity. So mainly I can say best thing to be able to do is detail complex technical issues in a simplified way. If you can do this, then you're going to be able to stand out as somebody who can actually do good customer service in the role of a cybersecurity analyst or a cybersecurity professional. So this is what you need to learn to focus on. Forget about everything else. There might be some other skills there, but I'm a senior cybersecurity analyst. These are the kind of things that I'm using on a daily basis, and these are the kind of things that I actually look for when I'm doing interviews for new employees that come in, for example. So the first three here, this is what's actually going to help you get interviews, but to actually detail your experience, this is where you need to do your home projects. So your home projects need to make sure they relate to each one of these areas. Set up your own SIEM at home. Set up Microsoft Sentinel. This is something that we teach in our apprenticeship, for example. And do some AI and automation. Again, we've got a specific course in our apprenticeship academy that I can show you right now. So this is our apprenticeship academy. This is where we teach you everything that I've spoken about already. You can see we give you access to all of the project portfolios. We've got this AI and automation course, and we also teach you how to actually apply for jobs, the best places to look for cybersecurity jobs, and we also give you access to CompTIA, the CompTIA authorized content and the authorized labs as well. So if you want to see if there's something that might work out for you, like I said, there's a link in the description where you can apply for one of the free strategy calls. We can jump on, we can have a chat. It's a free call. At the end of the day, we give you a plan to actually execute on your own. But then if you want to come and work with us to actually speed up that process for you, you're welcome to do that as well. But ultimately, each of these home projects need to relate to each one of these areas, and this is what's going to give you experience to talk about in interviews. And then you're going to get to this point where Mariana did, and she was able to use the content that we provided her to actually apply for these jobs. One of those things is actually our resume and CV template, like you can see here. We'll personally sit down with you and make sure that this is going to get through the ATS and application tracking systems. We'll make sure that all the projects that you've done, everything that we teach you is listed out here, so that it flags up and shows your experience. Like you can see here where we talk about Microsoft Sentinel. Like I said, this is something that we teach you as well. We teach you about phishing analysis. All of these projects we teach you in our apprenticeship, which is why you're able to put them on this CV. And also you can then list some certifications that you've done and also your education and additional skills. So this is something that Mariana also benefited from. But here it takes time. Mariana did do it within 4 months. It can often take longer than that. People that we've worked with, the 10 plus people, have done it in around 4 to 6 months. But again, everybody is different. It depends how dedicated you are at the end of the day. But this is kind of the 5-step plan that we've actually used, and I've used it myself. The other mentors in empirical training have also used it throughout their careers, and now that we're going and helping others get into cybersecurity, this is the mentorship that is helping. This is the pathway that is helping those people. And then once you've done that and you land your first role, you can then look to specialize into those more higher paying roles. But the focus is go from here to your first role. And some people out there, you may not need to do your CompTIA Network Plus, for example. You might not even need to do your CompTIA Security Plus. It's all going to depend on your situation, which is why we do these free career strategy calls, because not everybody is going to have to go down every step here. And we do tailor this plan to your situation to make sure that you can get there as fast as possible. So yeah, this is how we helped Mariana. And this is the 5-step plan that we used. So to conclude then, you now know how I helped Mariana go from recruiter to cybersecurity analyst without any experience. Now, if you want to go and watch somebody else named Georgina, who we helped, she went from mechanical engineer to cybersecurity information security analyst, then go and watch this video next. I want to say thank you for watching. I'll see you over there.